The word Taj means crown and Mahal is a palace. Crown palace. Well, it's not really a palace. They never lived here. They lived in Agra Fort, which was their residence. This is the tomb of Mumtaz Mahal, the mausoleum of Arjuman Bano Begum, who was Shah Jahan's favorite wife. The man married 10 times and she was number 3. Who was extremely beautiful, pious, cultured. She was a very good advisor of Emperor Shah Jahan. She married at the age of 19th year and she died at the age of 39 years. 1631 she died, and in that short period she had 14 kids. They married for 20 years. She conceived 16 times at 14 kids and only 7 were survived. Out of 14, just 7 who actually survived, and then 7 actually died in infancy. She died in childbirth. Due to the excessive pain and septicemia, she died. She realized that her end is near, she's not going to survive anymore. So when she was on deathbed, she called her husband to grant her 2 wishes. The one, you will not marry again, take care of my kids and parents when I'm no more, and build such a beautiful mausoleum as a token of our love, which I saw in my dream, and this should be unparalleled to the world. The emperor was shocked. It's not because she was demanding, it is because he was losing heart. He wept bitterly, he accepted her will, she didn't marry, and he built the Taj Mahal. And her body was brought to Agra. She was buried behind those trees to the left side. There was a little enclosure where she was buried temporarily until the crypt was ready. So when the crypt was ready, she was buried in the basement inside, and this was built over her crypt. The mausoleum was started in 1631, and it wasn't designed by one man. There was a panel of architects. There were Indians, Turkish, Persians, they all worked together. Number of models were prepared, the sketches were made, and finally one wooden miniature was approved by the emperor. And according to this model, they built it. They took 17 years to complete this wide and beautiful building, and then 5 more years to complete the other things. So the whole complex took 22 years to build by 20,000 people. They worked from sunrise till sunset, and he spent more than 41 million rupees at that time, which might be priceless today. And Taj is not only made of white marble. The interior structure is built with tiny brick. There is a brick wall which has been faced with marble slabs, and all the slabs have been jointed with iron clamps, lime mortar. Marble was brought from Makrana. This is a place in between Jaipur and Jodhpur, 360 kilometers away from here. They dug out the quarries up to more than 100 feet, brought the massive blocks by elephants, oxen carts. Now each and every huge block was cut into required shapes with the help of a wire, sand and water. They did not have a proper blade. So they used to have a wooden boat. This was connected with wire. They were holding it and using river sand and water constantly to make the wire quite sharp. Or the sand was having a particles which was going along with the wire that helped to cut the marble blocks. Hammer and chisel, rope and pulley, scaffoldings. There was a mile-long ramp. So the pieces were carved or inlaid on the ground, and then the pieces were raised to this height. The style of architecture is again a blend of Indo and Islamic, Indian and Islamic. But the tomb along with the gardens is the Persian concept, but the dome, arch and the minaret, that's more Islamic. Again, the use of a eave. The smaller dome has a shade around, supported by the brackets, scallops, arches, floral patterns, flat ceiling. These are Indian elements. Now Taj has a perfect shape of a dome. From the base it looks like drum shape, and from the top it's an onion shape or pear shapes. In reality it has got double domes. There's another one which is too small, and that's right underneath the bigger. Instead of having a single soaring dome, they made 2. To give right proportion to the ceiling, they built a smaller one, but to give certain height to the Taj Mahal, they built the outer one. And there's a huge gap in between. So when someone makes a noise, it might last for some time. If you're just alone play with flute, you create such an interesting sound. Paul Horn, the great flute master, he played with his flute, and that was amazing. Same thing with the Taj. It looks big and beautiful from here than inside. When you're inside, you might see the details, but then you lose the scale of the buildings. It's quite small. You can only see the inner wall and the inner dome. This is the outer wall and the outer dome, and there's a gap in between. You can actually walk. There's an access, but they don't allow you to go upstairs. But you can walk in between the inner and outer wall. 4 minarets, which were never used for any religious functions, purely ornamental, decoratives. These 4 towers simply frame the Taj Mahal. Otherwise, the Taj, the main structure, would have been lost in the surrounding vastness. And they built them slightly tilted outwards, so in case the towers will fall outwards, will not really fall, and so the towers won't damage the main structure. And then each one has a staircases, one can climb up, but the towers are closed. Well, some people in the past committed suicide. for the security and safety reasons, they have locked these minarets. As you asked me about the two more buildings, this is a mosque. They actually build the side buildings to give contrast. The main mausoleum is in white marble that looks more feminine, female, and the sandstones looks more masculine.
Yeah.
This was used as a mosque. Back of the mosque always faces Mecca, and Mecca is to the west of India. On Friday, the Taj is closed, but the mosque is open. In order to keep everything symmetrical, they built the identical one onto this side, and then it wasn't used as a mosque. Because back doesn't face to Mecca, so they might have visited and called it guest house, but they never lived here. They lived in Agra. The architect said mosque is a questions. When there is a questions, why not? There should be an answer. So the answer was built to this site. Well, this stands on the right bank of River Yamuna. There's nothing behind it except this interesting background. When you see from a distance, it looks like that somebody has painted a beautiful paintings on a blue canvas. And this was amazing task to build this massive structure on the riverbed. They dug out the foundations up to the solid surface. It is a well foundations. They dug out the wells. These wells were filled with river sand rubbles and a wooden wheel. This huge wheel having 8 spokes, and these spokes are sunk into the wall. Then there's another layer of a river sand rubbles and a wooden wheel. They also use lead and malleable copper. So this seems to be a shock absorber. In case there is an earthquake, then the foundation would manage to survive the Taj Mahal. Floating foundations, flexible foundations.
Wow.
Shock absorbers. And we never got any earthquake here, but they still thought of this. This seems to be the tallest mausoleum in the world in white marble. This is taller than Qutb Minar in Delhi. Victory Tower in Delhi has the height of 238 feet or 72.5 meters. This is 243 feet 6 inch from the gardens up to the apex, or 74 meters. The finial on top of this dome, it is exactly 10 meters high or 30 feet 6 inch. It looks less, but when you compare with the people, you get the exact height. They look quite small. And it works as a lightning neutralizer. So when the clouds are charged positive, this charge is negative. It turns automatically into negative. So it reduces the effects. And it has a weight of 1.2 metric ton, I'm sorry. And the entire dome has a weight of about 12,000 tons. Each slab of marble looks quite small from here, but then each one is having the size of a very big coffee table. They're jointed with the clamps. There's a legend that the emperor was going to build black marble Taj Mahal on the other side of the river for himself, but he was imprisoned by his son. In fact, nothing was executed by Shah Jahan. Perhaps he laid out the garden on the other side, which was excavated in 1992 by the Indians and American archaeologists. They discovered the layout, and they are going to restore the gardens. So it's just a story that he started the black marble Taj Mahal. So far, there's nothing in black marble. Now, building looks completely different each time. From sunrise till moonlight, it gets changed. Light and shade keeps changing it. Early in the morning when the weather is clear, not foggy, hazy, sun is red enough, then it looks slightly pink. Then it turns into very, very bright during the day, and then setting sun makes it again very nice, pale, calm. Moonlight is the best when it looks milky calm, and the stones which are inlaid outside, some of them glitter, sparkle. That is a beauty.
Do you think they knew that?
Well, not really, not really. It is natural actually.
Right.
Well, you have to be in certain angles to see this.
Right.
Still, during the day, some of these stones sparkle, glitter. But Indian poets, Rabindranath Tagore saw this at night with full moon, and he was amazed, and he said, Taj Mahal looks like teardrop of Shah Jahan's eyes on the cheek of time, the cheek of eternity.
Wow.
Some call it Shrine of Love, poem in white marble. One of the members of British Parliament says Taj Mahal is a noble tribute to an Indian lady. And love is immortal. It still survives. I believe this is not a building with brick and mortar. This is a building with someone's emotions, love, sentiments. And people today believe that their souls still roam around.
Yeah.
The only non-symmetrical part is his tomb. She's in the center and he's in the corner.
Okay.
When we are inside, you can see the two graves. In fact, what we see inside, we see the replica tomb. The real grave is in the basement. They were
Okay.
buried in the ground and a real tomb was not accessible by the people. They never allowed them to access the real grave, because Mughals thought the person is not dead. He or she is resting in presence of someone means there that you are disturbing the soul. So that was covered. They built the replica at the same time, same manner, better than the real. So today all the people are visiting the replica and they don't miss anything. The replica is interestingly inlaid. Every inch is inlaid with a semi-precious stones, and it has beautiful screens around, and marble has a wonderful power. Beautiful. This is what you miss in pictures. So she's on the center and he's on the corner. The size does not signify the size of the body.
Okay.
They were buried in the ground. The size signifies the age. So she was 39 and he was 74 years. Her tomb is smaller, his tomb is bigger. Now how will you recognize who is the male and who is the female? So there's a difference. There's nothing on top of a grave, but his tomb has a small piece of marble which is long and round called pencil box. Pen or pencil box symbolizes the male organ. It is a difference between the male and female.
Okay.
That's how one can recognize. Slate for female and pencil boxes for them.
Okay.
Any questions you have? No? Sure? Okay. If you have, you can